of all my religious experiences, which were a lot at that age, that was the most profound to me. That was what made the most sense. That's where I felt the most welcome. That's where I felt the most sincere practice of a belief. I really felt those people were living their proclaimed values. And I was just like, this is the world I want to live in.
Hey there, it's me, Rainn Wilson, and I want to dig into the human experience. I want to have conversations about a spiritual revolution. Let's get deep with our favorite thinkers, friends, and entertainers about life, meaning, and idiocy. Welcome to the Soul Boom Podcast. There's a shit ton we've got in common. First of all,
Yes.
I want to say that your wife's name is Sunrise.
Yes.
My wife's name is Holiday. That's crazy.
That is crazy. That's pretty crazy.
That's pretty nuts, right?
Yes, yes.
And we've both been married a super long time.
Yes, that's right.
I got married in 95.
And
You beat there.
Yeah,
You were like
you do.
2000 or something like that?
2001. 2000.
Yeah.
Son's born 2001.
Excellent.
Yes.
Tell me about married life with Sunrise.
Um,
What have you learned
it's
there?
the best thing I have going. Really.
You've raised 3 adult kids.
We have 3 adult kids who are
They're all artists.
yes, they're all artists, and a jewelry designer, a actor, and a painter. We've been together a long time. We've seen a lot. We've been through a lot together, and I just adore her. Like I love her more and more as time goes on.
That's amazing.
She's in menopause now, so like it's kind of a cool chapter for her. I feel like
That's a challenging chapter.
yeah, but it's also just been, she's really, I mean, it's odd to say, but she's coming to her own in a way that's like just really exciting. And, you know, she's not raising kids anymore really, and she's not. And I'm just digging this version of her quite a bit. And we're having a really nice time. I mean, we're like empty nesters now.
Yeah. You doing some traveling or anything?
We're gonna do some traveling in November, and October, and I mean, but we're just like in the house together, and there's no one else there.
Yeah.
And we're watching movies, and we're going for a walk. I mean, it's just really a sweet, just a sweet moment. It's really been enjoyable.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? What's your story?
It's kind of crazy. We met. A friend of ours was getting out of rehab in Los Angeles.
All right.
And he was coming. He came to visit me, and he's a good old friend of both of ours. And then she was coming to see him, and he lived about a block away from me. So I was walking back from my place, and I see this woman get out of her car. She's maybe like 50 yards away from us. And I'm just knocked out by her. I don't know what it was. I just was like, who is that? And then I was like, oh, I'm going to marry that person. I'm going to marry that
Whoa,
woman.
you seriously?
Yes. And
Because I've heard that story before.
Yeah.
I have heard that
It was
story
the
from other
weirdest
couples
thing in
of
the
like
world.
seeing someone. I'm like, I'm marrying that person.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And I didn't know who she was. And I mean, maybe I'd thought that before. I don't ever remember thinking that about anybody. But it was, and so then I was like, well, so how am I going to meet her? And then she turned towards us, and she just got a huge smile on her face, and she literally starts running towards me. And I think to myself, oh, she must know too. And
you weren't a movie star at that point.
No,
so
no,
you
I
were
was
just
nothing.
kind of,
I was doing like, I was about to do, well, I'd done some plays in LA, but I hadn't, no, she didn't know who I was. Yeah. And she's running towards me with the same amount of joy that I'm feeling towards her. I'm ready to receive her. And she runs right by me and throws herself into my friend's arms, you know, in a big hug. And she starts crying because she was so happy to see him well, you know.
Yeah.
And then he introduced me to her, and he's like, anyway, oh my God, I'm so, you know. And so I realized that the only way I was going to ever turn her head is if I can make her laugh. So I told a story at my friend's sixpence that got a laugh out of her. And she turned to me and she said, wait, who are you?
Yeah.
And we went to a dinner together that night, and it was
making them laugh is what it's all about,
buddy,
right?
You have to make them laugh.
What worked for me, because she is way out of my league.
Mine too.
Holiday. And
so far. So what? That's 30 years.
Yeah. And we were together like 4 years before that, dating. So
that's amazing. It's beautiful, right?
Super, super long time. It's amazing.
Super
And like you say, for me, like the greatest accomplishment and one of the most difficult jobs I've ever had, the most difficult job I've ever had. In fact, I would say it's more difficult than parenting, is sustaining a long-term marriage and intimacy and the ups and downs and miscommunications. And,
the communication, man.
And it's you know,
listening.
It's been some really rough periods and just blissful series of years. And
it's where you grow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best of you and the worst of you.
There's someone, I think Annie Lamott said that, like, marriage is a soul growing machine. Or maybe it was M. Scott Peck. I can't remember who it was, but it's a soul growing machine.
I agree. I learned a lot, and I mean, I could say I've come a long way, and I hope she'd say the same thing. But
yeah, that's great.
I was just watching our marriage video. We were watching it. My uncle sent it to me. I hadn't seen it, you know, and so it's been
the wedding video.
The wedding video, yeah. And
2000, so it was like a big handicap kind of thing.
Totally.
Like, yeah.
It's terrible quality, but we were such kids, and we've grown so much. Mm-hmm. It was remarkable to see, because you could really see how much we've grown with each other and just in relationship to the world. And
what advice? It's a lame question, but what advice would you give? No, it's a lame and really important question. What advice would you give to someone wanting to have a long-term relationship, either to find one or sustain one?
I'd definitely say put therapy in the mix. Having a professional who can guide you, I guess, or somebody, a rabbi, somebody that understands relationships. I'd say a therapist is probably the best, who's trained for this, and who can guide you and
a therapist rabbi combination would be amazing.
Would be perfect.
Yeah,
you know, but that they can guide you, and that they show you what you can't see. You know, it's just having that outside perspective of a neutral person who you hope loves you as a couple, and who you hope is cheering you on as a couple.
Yeah.
We had those people in our lives very early on, and we've checked in with them when we get into trouble. And the trouble's going to come, you know? And sometimes the flight or fight response is so intense, especially when you start getting into like trauma, family trauma, because we're only a product of what we know. And my parents broke up at 20 years. Her parents broke up like she was a baby still. So that's our models, and they're incomplete, and they're damaged models, you know. So having a therapist. Yeah.
I think you put your finger on it. You know, there's so much like I didn't learn from my parents. It wasn't modeled to me or taught to me or encouraged in me. One thing is like how to deal with anger. You know, like my family never expressed anger. And then it would come out sideways like Mount Vesuvius, just with broken dishes and screaming and slamming. And then it would go back to weeks and months of like, everything's just fine. Everything's fine. So, you know, how do you healthily express anger? And very few people are given those tools as children.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, our generation, I mean, my dad, God bless him, but he, you know, actually, when he became a Baha'i, he really chilled out. But up until then, I mean, spankings
Pre-Baha'i? Yeah.
Spankings were like a common thing.
Yeah, I was spanked a lot too.
And it was scary. I mean, it was beyond a spanking sometimes. I mean, it was.
Well, that's the thing. Like, all spanking is wrong and bad and kind of a physical abuse, right? But if you were to justify spanking, you would say, hey, I've told you 3 times not to throw rocks at the neighbor's house. We did it again. So now you're going to get some corporal punishment.
Set the garage on fire.
Yeah, and like, here you go, 10 times. But that's not how it worked in my house either, where spanking was an extension of rage. So losing a temper, grab, spank is a rage-filled
and you feel
hitting.
that. You feel the intention behind it as a child. You feel, is this a punishment or is this an expression of someone's rage that's being can't articulate it. But in time, with some therapy, you start to see like, and then, my father's evolved. And I mean, he came to me, he's like, I will never, ever hit you again. And I was like, right. So I went out of my way for months to provoke him.
To poke the beehive. Yeah.
Because I didn't trust him at that point.
Yeah.
And he never did. And those were the most healing. That was the most healing time of my childhood when my father became a Baha'i and he stopped that kind of behavior. It was profound.
Wow.
It was profound. It was amazing. And but what I was getting to is so that was our model. That was that's been the model for my grandmother chained my father to the pipes in the basement when she went to the grocery store because she didn't want him to mess up the house.
Whoa.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that was the level of that. I mean, they laugh about it. They tell me these stories like it's funny. And now part of me is like, that is horrifying, as a child. And, but that's where the product of that. We're the first generation where we're actually addressing these things as problematic.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, maybe I don't want to be like that as a parent. Maybe I don't want to. I didn't like that as a kid. And I didn't really see the use of it, or I didn't see it as being a good thing for me as a kid. So how am I going to change that?
Look, guys, I know that hiring can sometimes feel impossible. I may just be a stupid actor, but I'm probably one of the most qualified ones when it comes to knowing how to manage an office. Get it? You put up a job listing and suddenly you're drowning in resumes from people whose only qualification owns a smartphone. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. And thanks to me, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/soulboom. The second you post a job, ZipRecruiter's smart technology starts showing you qualified candidates who have the skills that you actually need. Ditch the other hiring sites. Let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, that needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/soulboom. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/soulboom. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Fall's here, folks, which means it's time to ditch the sweaters that can't handle the stiff breeze and trade them in for the ones that were built to last. And that is where Quince comes in. They have got the fall staples you want. 100% Mongolian cashmere from just $60. Classic fit denim, real leather and wool outerwear that actually holds up. I've got my eye on their suede trucker jacket. Not gonna lie, it's perfect for layering, it's casual, and still put together. I have, for the last year or so, been wearing their delightful cashmere zip-up hoodie, and it's become my go-to. It's super warm and soft and cuddly, and my other hoodies are mad at me. Frankly, they're sulking in the corner. Layer up this fall with pieces that feel as good as they look. Go to quince.com/soulboom for free shipping on your order of 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/soulboom. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/soulboom. Quince it up, baby.
Did you ever notice how in meetings they can get kind of awkward when someone pulls out a laptop? What are they doing? Checking their fantasy football scores? Googling themselves? That's why I have been using the remarkable Paper Pro Move. And let me tell you, truthfully, I am obsessed. It's a paper tablet designed to keep you present. There's no apps, there's no notifications. The Paper Pro Move feels exactly like writing on paper, but it's digital. I can jot down notes with their amazing templates and then instantly convert my handwriting into typed text. It slips easily into my jacket pocket. It's way smaller than a laptop. The battery lasts up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks! That's longer than most of my New Year's resolutions. So for anyone tired of carrying around coffee-stained notebooks or trying to take notes on their phone while fighting the urge to text their significant other, this is the tablet to get. And you can try it for 100 days risk-free. And if it's not for you, just send it back. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today. That gives me a little hope for humanity that there is this generational change. And maybe there are things with Walter where he's like, I didn't like how my parents did X, Y, and Z. And if I have kids, I'm going to do things a little bit different.
I see that a lot in men, in my friends. I see it expressed quite often. Like, I want to be better. I want to be a better parent. I want to be the father that I wanted to have. I see that expressed quite often. Yeah, through all levels of life. Not just us actors and artists, but my friends who are building houses or prison guards or what have you. My community upstate. I see a marked change in the way people are parenting their kids, for better or for worse. I mean, this is kind of a social experiment, but I believe that the less trauma you have put on your kids, the better outcomes they're going to have.
And there's other things I wasn't learned. I wasn't taught how to be vulnerable, how to share my feelings. I wasn't taught kind of how to kind of read the room with kind of empathy and compassion. And there's so many things that I wasn't parented in that a therapeutic kind of set of guidelines.
Through the relationship of your marriage.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like through that testing ground.
Yeah.
Where you can't run away, where you can't hide. You can't put on your best face you can't behave. It's the shit's gonna come up.
My wife just said the other day, she's like, and she's, here we are, we're both 60 years old. And she's like, I still, after all of these years, like sometimes when I'm just on fire and overwhelmed, like I just need a hug. And to say, I just could really use a hug right now is one of the hardest set of words to come out of the human mouth.
Yes.
And she's trying to learn to just be like, can you just hold me for a little bit? I just need a hug right now. And for me to intuit that and not lecture, but listen, empathize.
Buddy.
So we're 34 years in and still working on stuff.
I know. And then you'll change, it'll change again. It'll be, I need a diamond ring.
Well,
it'll be something else.
It'll be something else.
All of our needs are constantly changing.
Yeah.
And then just lastly on that point is just being a man. My idea of being a man in a relationship to a woman was so, it was misogynistic. It was, I just have learned so much. To listen to her and these roles that
what did you think you needed to be in 2001, 2002?
The woman, she's got to stay with the kids. She's got to, it was I had some really, they just didn't give her much space for her to be her version of herself. It was very traditional expectations for a non-traditional person, And it wasn't fair. It wasn't pretty. And it was very unhappy made her very unhappy. And to learn that and to just to become aware of it. It's like asking a fish about water. I grew up in that, you know?
Yeah.
Like a fish doesn't know what water is until you pull them out of the water. And so, you know, the things that I'm not proud of, 100, you know, it makes me cringe, some of it, you know?
Sure.
But
plus, it's really hard to be married to someone who's an actor in Hollywood and has a certain measure of success or celebrity, because it tends to, like, all the attention seems to go there, and like, what does Mark need? What does Rainn need? And and how is Mark? How is Rainn? What are they working on? It's a. In some ways, it's great for her. Like, we get opportunities to travel, and certainly I can make enough money, and you know, and stuff like that. But,
decent restaurant reservations on the fly. But other than that, it's a curse, I think.
How have you guys dealt with that?
It's taken a long time and a lot of grace. But I think we kind of have it wired now. I mean, she's fantastic. She's a star in her own right, really. You know, she's just incredibly beautiful and very funny, and a strong personality herself. I always say to her, you know, you steal all my friends from me. You know, like, I'll be friends with, like, Naomi Watts first, and then now they're best friends. Like, it's, you know, and so she holds her own really well in all of that, which is, I think, great. And over time, she's become more and more capable of that. And then it's been, you know, if I do the red carpet, I always do it with her. She's always with me. You know, we don't break off for that. It's been hard, you know. It's like, what do you need in these situations that are going to make you feel comfortable and welcome and appreciated, you know? And a lot of that was like, just, you know, stick with me. You know, don't leave me. Don't, you know? Because once you leave the sea, like, it just becomes an ocean, a wave, you know? And people who aren't attached to the ship just get washed away, you know? And so that's been a big thing.
Well said. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go there because you brought it up a couple of times, but what the fuck? Your dad became a Baha'i? How does that work? When I first heard that from our mutual friend, Mark Bamford.
Yes. Mark, yes.
He's like, you know, Rainn, Ruffalo's dad was a Baha'i. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. How did you know Mark? Do you guys work together?
We worked together at the Olive Restaurant in LA, which was Sean McPherson's, basically his first place. Now he's this hotel mogul. He has the Bowery and, you know.
Okay.
But we worked together there. He was the manager and I was a doorman, and I was a bar back and a bartender. And I was like, who is this guy? This guy is...
He's enormous. 6'5" guy, giant
Orson
white
Welles,
beard,
at that time,
booming voice.
Yes, booming voice, a big personality, super smart, gifted, confident. Yeah,
I went to the U.S. Open with him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I haven't seen him, talked to him in a while.
He's like a real life Hagrid. That's how I think about him.
Oh, so, for sure.
Yeah. But anyways,
he's drawn into that. Yeah, so my dad is a Baha'i.
Your dad, tell me about that. You grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Was that where your dad is from as well?
Yeah. And my dad grew up in this Italian Catholic, very staunch Catholic, you know.
What's his name?
Frank Ruffalo. Frank Lawrence Ruffalo Jr. And
sounds like a car mechanic. Frank Ruffalo.
Yeah. And he's not. He has the soul of an artist. I always say he's an artist that never really found his art form.
What was his line of work?
We were a construction painting company. My family had and he worked for the family business. He was a foreman. He was estimator. He was very good at what he did, but he came up empty spiritually in the Catholic Church, and he was a seeker in Kenosha, Wisconsin. This blue collar, you know, very blue collar, was factory workers.
Yeah,
you know, he was the only one who went. I mean, no one went to college. My family were all immigrants. It was first generation Italians. You know, it was like a totally different world. And there in Kenosha, Wisconsin, is one of the first Baha'i communities in the United States.
Yeah, of all places.
Yeah, Abdul Baha went there. Visited
Yeah,
there when
yeah.
he came to America. That was the first place he came.
So for people who don't know, the son of the founder of the Baha'i faith, whose name was Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God, his eldest son was the center of the covenant, or the leader of the faith, named Abdul Baha, servant of glory. And he came to America in 1912 for about 237 days and traveled around North America, and of all places, swung through Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Did he come there because there was a Baha'i community?
Yes, they invited him there.
Go figure.
And it was the first Baha'i community in the United States.
Oh, that's nuts.
And so he came there.
Yeah.
And I guess that caught my dad's eye, that historical, I mean, this Middle Eastern mystic
Yeah.
prophet, you know, son of a prophet of this new burgeoning religion that spurred the UN and just had these concepts that could address a modern mankind in a spiritual way that made sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so I never really asked him like how he got involved. He had some friends who were in the community.
Okay.
Some family friends. And
Is this the 70s we're talking about?
Yes, yes. This is the 70s. And and Seals and Croft was hot.
You know
then.
what? God bless the 70s. Come on.
I know.
The 70s were awesome.
Buddy, I lived on Lake Michigan, which was the most polluted dump of the
Right.
United States, where the fish were swimming with literal cancerous growths on their faces and bodies, right?
Yeah.
And within the 70s, that period of time, I saw that lake get cleaned up because of the environmental movement. I
Right.
saw it happen in real time.
Yeah.
In 2 years' time, there were no fish with cancers growing on them.
Right.
There was no foam and pollution. You know, that lake became clean.
People don't
Clear.
realize, like, the ecology movement, Silent Spring, Secret Spring, Rachel Carson.
The Earth Day.
Yeah, Earth Day.
That was the biggest,
That
millions
all
upon millions.
started late 60s, early
Yes,
70s.
it was magical.
This concept that you would, like, care for the environment.
We could change. We could actually change something. We
can have legislation that is positive, that
and
curtails.
bipartisan. I mean, Nixon signed on to the Clean Water Act. I mean, that was Nixon, you know?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't like the idea that we want clean food, clean air, and clean water.
Wait a minute,
We
that's going to
shared
hurt the
that.
economy.
No. When
Yeah.
we did well, we shared it, you know?
But also this element of spiritual seeking in the 70s that I miss so much. I've talked about it a lot. I talk about it in Soul Boom and many times this idea that, you know, Steve Jobs went and lived on an ashram and Cat Stevens became a Muslim and people were just searching. They're like, this, you know, the old organized religions aren't really cutting it. Maybe there's new spiritual paths, or maybe there's ways of refreshing my Christianity, you know,
And that
through
was
a new
happening
lens.
too.
Yeah. So, but personal search and saying like, I'm just not going to accept what the culture is giving me. I'm not going to accept what my parents are giving me. I'm going to find the truth for myself. Nowadays, it's kind of like you're left or you're right, and you just believe what you read online, and no one questions, and there's no kind of true independence, and especially around spiritual search.
Well, the mystical dimension
element
of spirituality.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, it's in some ways it's exploded. You know, you know, it's not as remarkable now as it was in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's more extreme. I feel like because we're in more extreme. You know, we're facing more extreme things like climate change and immigration because of it, and a global economy where we're actually in conversations with each other, so we're actually seeing the injustices instead of them being tucked away in secret, you know? But for my dad, I get it was pretty radical to do what he did, and to be from this Catholic family who was
he? Where was he born? In the States?
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
He was born in Kenosha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So he didn't come over like from
No,
Italy.
that was
He
my grandparents.
Okay, yeah.
So he was a first gender, and they were trying to assimilate. Like they were like, we don't speak Italian anymore. We speak English. Okay,
Yeah.
we're moving from the Italian neighborhood, moving to where the white people live. Now we're going to live next to a doctor, right? Okay, we're going legit. Okay, we're American now, right?
No more ZD. Now it's hamburgers.
So it was always like, what does the neighbors think? So for my dad to bust out into this Middle Eastern religion that nobody really knew about. But I remember going to those firesides, and because my mom and my grandmother were evangelicals. I was saved by Jimmy Swaggart, okay?
Wait, what?
Yes, Jimmy Swaggart came to our town.
He saved you?
He saved me. Because my grandmother wanted me for her birthday to be saved, to take Jesus into my heart.
So did they switch
savior.
from Catholicism to evangelicalism?
Yes, my grandmother and my mom.
Wow.
And so my grandmother was she was my God. I loved her, she was my special, person.
She didn't chain you to a radiator.
She never changed me to radiator. But she was like, what do you want for your birthday, Grandma? I want you to take Jesus in your heart as your savior. Jimmy Swaggart's coming to town. It was the first Assembly of God where they were going all over the nation at that point, the evangelical movement. And so I had that. I had that. I went to Bible studies with that. I was raised in a Catholic school. I went to Catholic school. I got my first communion. I had that, right? And then my dad is like, come to Fireside with me. So I had like all three of these. If there was one Jewish person, I would have had the entire Middle East.
All of the Abrahamic religions, yeah.
So I go to the doctor the other day to get some labs done, and as she looks up from the results, she says, oh, it looks fine. Drink more water, eat less carbs, be less grumpy. Now, that's not medical advice. That's just bullying. I got no details, no insight, no idea why I'm exhausted at 3 p.m. or why my brain feels like it's running on dial-up from the 90s. But with Superpower, I have unlocked something special that I'm sharing just with you. It's not this vague kind of drink more water, get more sleep advice. It's a full deep dive into what actually is going on inside of you. One lab test, over 100 biomarkers, covering everything from thyroid and hormones to vitamins, metabolism, inflammation, the works. It's basically like getting the same breakdown pro athletes get, which, let's be honest, I basically am. So head to superpower.com to learn more and lock in the special $199 price while it lasts. After you sign up, they'll ask how you heard about them. Please make sure to mention this podcast to support the show. It would mean a lot. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower. Hey, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our spiritual partners at the Fetzer Institute. They have just launched a brand new shiny website over at fetzer.org. That's FETZER.org. And it's full of spiritual tools for modern struggles, which is exactly what we're trying to cultivate here at Soul Boom. Fetzer believes that most of humanity's problems are spiritual at the root, and they're helping people plant some deeply soulful solutions. So I urge you to go poke around their new website, check out fetzer.org. Thank you, Fetzer Institute, for helping sponsor the show and all of the truly amazing work that you do over there. Fetzer.org, that's FETZER.org. What if I told you I had been working out? No, not like that. Working out my soul, because I've written a workbook for the soul, written by yours truly and some nameless friend of mine. Hey, Shabnam. The Soul Boom Workbook, Spiritual Tools for Modern Living, is out November 4th and available for pre-sale now. If you love the Soul Boom book, you like spiritual revolutions, and you enjoy this podcast, go order yourself one today. It's interactive, it's fun, it's creative. It'll light you up inside and out. You can get all spiritually curious and artistic and weirdly profound in these delicious, colorful pages. I promise this isn't self-help, this is soul help. Order your copy today. Click on the link below to buy.
Tell me about that. Tell me you're 10 years old going to a Baha'i fireside in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Man.
What's that like?
It was so sweet because they loved the kids,
Yeah.
We weren't like the scourge, like shut up, sit down, be quiet, you should be seen but not heard. That wasn't the vibe. It was like the children we love, come sit with us, listen, have a cookie, it had a sweetness to it. And the people were earnest about their beliefs. And I'll tell you, it had the most of all my religious experiences, which were a lot at that age. That was the most profound to me. That was what made the most sense. That's where I felt the most welcome. That's where I felt the most sincere practice of a belief. Like I really felt those people were living their proclaimed values.
And how did your dad...
And the way they treated other people. And there was multiracial. I mean, that was another thing. There was, multiracial couples that were there. And I was just like, this is the world I want to live in.
Yeah.
These people aren't hating on each other. This is not a sense of we're better than anybody else. This is like, we're all here together. Let's make it a better world. And let's do it through our own personal community right here, right now, And I saw that as a kid. And the idea that all the religions were sacred and that it had an inclusivity to it that made me feel like, okay, if they're, because at that point I'd given up. I was the kid who was like, wait a second. Wait, are you saying that heaven is like in the clouds? Like it's
right up there?
It's right up there.
Is it before the moon or after the moon?
Yeah, like that's where it is. Yes, that's stop. And so if I dig down, I mean, it was they mistook the denotation for the connotation. It was like it was so literal, and it made no sense to me. And I was the kid who was like, this doesn't make any sense. Shut up, And so they lost me immediately.
Yeah.
So then I got into the Baha'i thing, and it was like, it was the poetry, it was the metaphor, it was the denotation, So
that's beautiful. How did your dad deal with wanting to raise you Baha'i? Did you consider becoming Baha'i at 15? Or
no,
because there's a big thing for folks who don't know, when you're 15 in the Baha'i faith, that's the age of maturity, and you decide if you want to be a member of the faith or not, and you're on your, there's no coercion, you make your own decisions, it's an individual investigation of truth.
Yes.
You kind of find it for yourself. Was your dad pretty hands-off and just like...
He was very hands-off.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he had sort of left the Baha'i faith as a strict adherent, but had always lived by those principles and loved them. But I feel like he felt like he couldn't honestly, by the time I was 15, I'm trying to think, he was still a Baha'i, but his thing was, I will never push anything on my kids. Because his parents forced him to do everything.
Yeah.
And so his entire ethos towards me as a kid was, I will never force you to do anything. I will offer this to you, which he did.
Yeah.
I will show you how I live this in my life. I remember I'd be like, Dad, the neighbors are up by the fire pit. They're drinking beer. They invited you to come over. And he's like, I don't drink, and I don't really. They drink a lot, and I don't really relate to that.
Everyone in Wisconsin drinks a lot. So.
They drink so much. And I was disappointed, But I saw his faith in action. Like he really lived it,
Yeah.
And so I admired that in him. It was a very fruitful time for me in that sense.
So what spiritual truths do you walk with now in your life that you maybe gleaned from the Baha'i faith and even Catholicism? I always say, like, if I wasn't a Baha'i, I'd probably be a Catholic, because there are certain things I just love about. I love the mystical Catholic tradition and writings. I do love the symbology and
it's the mystical parts of it. The dogmatic parts I have just never, like I was saying, from an early childhood, I just couldn't understand what we were getting from it. especially the divisive things. Like I could not. It was just a feeling level. It was like if God is love, and if what I heard from Christ that felt like was actually felt like the person that was giving those gospels, the direct gospels, you know, I never was sensing this hateful, angry, vengeful vibe from that. I really like that internalized in me, like the mystical. So it's a sense of equality, love thy neighbor, to try to lift up the humanity and the people around you through kindness and love and acceptance. I never gave much. My grandmother's like, "You'll be saved. You're Jesus.
Yeah.
You're saved.
Yeah,
you could do anything
done.
now.
Yeah.
You're saved.
Go crazy.
You could do anything.
Yeah.
You're saved."
Yeah.
I never really bought into that. I was like, "Listen, you know, you live a good life. Like that's more. That means more to me. That's what matters. Is what we do here. You know." And that's been a concept that I've, you know, treat others the way you want to be treated yourself. Love thy neighbor, you know.
Yeah. This is an ongoing debate in Christianity itself, where James says, you know, faith without works is dead. And then Paul says, you know, by faith alone are you saved. So there's been this kind of 2,000-year-old debate
Dialectic.
about like, do you just kind of like say, save me, Jesus, and then do whatever the fuck you want?
Right. I mean, one's super easy and kind of cynical.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your friend Timmy, who's a Buddhist, is going to go burn in hell, which is below the crust of the earth.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't ascribe to that.
Yeah.
To that. I might be wrong. I mean, like, who knows?
It's
At the
very
end-
interesting to read and watch online conversations and read essays about how they skirt the faith without works is dead. It's like, well, yeah, that's our ideal, is to be like Jesus, but you don't have to. And there's all of this kind of like paddling like a hamster on a hamster wheel to try and like step away from
the truth.
The truth. Yeah.
Why even have the debate?
Yeah.
Unless there's an inkling that there's a truism there that you're trying to
Be in denial about.
Yeah. Or be righteous about her. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion too.
You've done a lot of work and made a lot of dear friends in the Lakota community. Tell me about your work there and what you've learned from that tradition.
Well, like I was just saying, our relational, you know, place in the world. That's been huge for me. And this kind of optimism in the face of just the worst
Poverty, injustice,
adversarial circumstances. I mean, those people they'll be the first to tell you we're still here. You know, during Standing Rock, I was there, and I was invited to do a sweat lodge, like a traditional sweat lodge. And it was mostly Lakota people. There was maybe 3 other white people. There was probably 30 people. We were in a sweat lodge together, and it was at the height of it. It was when the army. I mean, there was armed. They had like weapons of war there. I mean, it was so intense, and the hatred on that front line that you could feel. I went to the front line. You could feel those guys with those weapons. They hated. That was hatred. They wanted to hurt people. They wanted to use those weapons, man. You could feel it. I've never felt anything like it. It was terrifying. And I came back, I was like, I'm going to leave here and you're going to stay here. And I just caught the whole thing, the whole vibe towards the racism and hatred and the oh man, it was a lot to take in. And I was like in despair. And we sat in that, and in the sweat lodge, it's dark, you know. And it's 1,000 years ago. They're singing the same songs, you know. And it's pitch black. And people are going around and they're talking about what they're struggling with. It's like It's like a confessional, but with human beings, your community there listening. And then one person's talking about a family member who went to prison, who's struggling with drug addiction. And, it's like so humanizing and so vulnerable, and everyone's being so honest. And so I was talking about, I'm terrified what's going to happen to you. Like, I'm going to go back to my world. This is I'm terrified. And they laughed. Oh, brother Mark, now you know what it's like to be a Lakota. Now you know. But we're still here, brother. And we've already won. This is just a machination. We've already won, brother.
That's powerful.
It was so powerful. The grace, and to share their ceremony with me as a white man, like the grace of, and that's how they treated everyone, with that that humility and that grace in the face of it, to share their most sacred, spiritual,
What little interaction I've had with folks that are native and stuff that I've read, the stuff that I'm really most struck by is how integrated everything is. Spirituality is not church on Sunday.
No way, man.
It's
That's
a living, breathing thing.
That's
activism and search for justice is not something you do online or you talk about in a class or something like that.
That's living.
Nature is present everywhere. Nature and spirituality are integrated. Service, in a way that we have such a fractured life in the Western world.
Which is part of our alienation from it all, They really have a lot from what I experienced, there's just a lot to learn from my native family,
Nice.
The Soul Boom Podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your stupid podcasts.